Well, you've probably guessed that's a John Peterson song. I so love John Peterson's song. And you've heard me say so many times how much I admire songwriters, and yes, I do. I sure do. I just think they are so gifted the way they put words down on paper. They say what I believe. Another John Peterson song, and yes, all this half hour we are going to do John Peterson songs. Now think in your mind, do you remember the songs that John Peterson wrote? Sometimes people don't realize the songs of a composer. John Peterson, I think at this time is in his 80s and lives in Arizona. Oh, would I like to have him on this program? Wouldn't that be great? He also wrote, "My Father is omnipotent, and that you can't deny, a God of might and miracles, 'tis written in the sky. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in place. But when he saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. The Bible tells us in his word, 'tis written plenty, and every little bird and flower are testimonies too. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when he saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. I once read that John Peterson was inspired to write that song when World War II he was flying dangerous missions over China. He was the pilot, and as he looked out, nighttime, daytime, he would see the stars, the moon, the sun. He would see the world. And then he thought, it took a miracle to save me. And he said to himself, someday I'm going to write a song about what I'm seeing. And years later he wrote, it took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when he saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. I'm trying to decide, do I tell you this humorous story? I think I want to. You know, I just love to laugh. I love humor. And it's in reference to this John Peterson song. It was just last spring, I think it was, that I had the privilege of being with a senior group in Indiana. Oh, quite a group. There were 200 or 300. And one of the attendees in this retreat, senior retreat, they called it, I think it was 3 days in Shipshawana, was a retired missionary from Africa. And she came, she heard me sing, it took a miracle. And I kind of gave a testimony about it, and like I just did to you. And she came to me and says, Martha, I just have to tell you something. And I said, I'd love to hear it. And she said, when we first got to the mission field in Africa, 35 years ago. She's now retired, and her husband is in glory. She said, when we first got there, we wanted to sing John Peterson's song, It Took a Miracle, because it has such a wonderful message. And we couldn't find anyone to play for us, and we had a terrible time. And finally, we found one African lady who could play. And says we were having trouble with our English, and perhaps she was having trouble with us singing. And said after we practiced, she was not very friendly to us, and we couldn't understand why. And she said years later, we found out that she thought, in our bad dialect, she thought we were saying, it took America to put the stars in place. It took America. Instead, it took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when he saved my soul, glancing made me whole. It took a miracle of love and grace. It took a miracle of love and grace. Do you ever get tired of singing that song? I don't, and I sing it so often. And every time, I believe I am blessed when I sing It Took a Miracle. John Peterson, divine inspiration that wrote the song.